This week we have a very strange new moon, and that's because this new moon in Virgo is number one going to be squaring Uranus as well. It is a lunation in the zodiac sign of Virgo where the nodes are, which means there's going to be eclipses in Virgo and Pisces. But this new moon is not an eclipse, so it's very weird. But this week, we will be having the sun ingress into Virgo. Virgo season begins, so it's back to school season. We have the new moon in Virgo, and the sun is going to be making a square to Uranus for this week's highlights. So pretty calm week, but it gives us an opportunity to kind of hack the astrology and use this energy to our advantage as we get ready for eclipse season in September. So let's go ahead and get started talking about it. Welcome back to the Astrology Report, this time for August 18th through August 24th of 2025. My name is Cam White. I'm excited for you guys to be here today, simply because it's time. I'm really excited for eclipse season, which is really weird to say, but I think it's going to be a kind of a monumental shift back to the first half of this year when Saturn was in Pisces, Neptune's going to go back into Pisces, Uranus is going to go back into Taurus, Pluto will stay in Aquarius, but we kind of get this blast from the past starting next month. And I think that this new moon allows us an opportunity to look at what the eclipses are going to bring, but kind of give us a little bit of a heads up. It's like seeing the answers to a test or the questions to a test before you're actually given it. So let's use this energy wisely. Let's just jump into it. So on Monday, we're starting the week with the moon hanging out in Gemini. It's going to be void for a little while until the moon ingresses into Cancer, where it will immediately square Saturn and Neptune. And then later on throughout the day, the moon will be squaring Mars in Libra. So not too much going on Monday. But as the moon is in Cancer, we're going to get a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more emotional. And what I like about the moon being in Cancer is we're a little bit more focused on, again, what are our priorities? What are our needs? Maybe you need to feel safe. Maybe you need to feel a little bit like renourished or rehydrated is a good term. The issue is it's going to square Saturn and Neptune. And the thing I kind of wrote down was like distracted to being sensitive and being a little bit more protective and feeling a little bit of rejection. Because as the moon goes into Cancer, where it's like, oh, I want to feel this safety, I want to feel this comfort, Saturn in Aries is telling you no. And so what I think about these transits is that, like on Monday, if you feel that sense of rejection, if you feel that sense of, needing to be protective, the moon, like squares aren't about like just full on being like, no, you can't do that. It's about like compromise and negotiation. For example, Saturn's going to be in Aries for the next couple years. Is it that when the moon goes into Cancer, you just aren't allowed to feel like safe or comfortable? But how do you feel safe and comfortable? How do you feel like your needs are met while in a hostile environment? Does that make sense? So it's time to like re-strategize. The only issue is that the moon squares Saturn and Neptune, so it's just confusing at first. Like it's kind of like, oh, I feel this rejection. Oh, I feel this harsh wall, but I don't really know how to make sense of it right now. And that's okay. Something I want to give you guys like permission to feel is, in case you need it, is, Saturn being about reality and structures and it's fallen would typically be really clear. But because it's conjoining Neptune, there is this like uncertainty. There is this like misunderstanding or not really having a clarity about what the wall is or what the limit is. And you're not going to make sense of it. Like the good way about Saturn and Neptune is essentially reality is meeting with the planet of fantasy. This is the time to actually look at your life and be like, okay. And again, this is why I've gone into more, like I've always been personal development focused, but I've leaned into it more is because, I've talked a lot about World War III and all the shit going on in the world. And it's like, yeah, that's all going to happen. What are you going to do about it? You're not going to stop it. You're not going to, dig a tunnel under the earth and survive your way out of it. However, that same energy that's causing that is also allowing opportunity like never before. Human beings have never lived in a time like this. And the planet of reality is meeting with the planet of fantasy. What do you want your life to look like? You have a chance to make that reality over this next year. And it's up to you to do it. But it's Saturn and Neptune and Aries. It's not handed to you. It's going to be earned through a lot of effort. But what other way is there to live? Truly. So as the moon squares Saturn, we'll have that. And then the moon's going to be squaring Mars, where there is just this kind of moody rest of the day. While the moon was in Aries for the first time while Mars was in Libra, I felt this real lack of energy, of just kind of like, man, I don't want to do shit. And it was like, it wasn't even like indecision. It was just this like stagnation of, it's not like I'm feeling this huge pursuit for something. I'm feeling this like slowness to it. It's kind of like waiting, if that makes sense. Like think of a lawsuit. Like sometimes there's just a lot of waiting for things to happen. You can be in the middle of a fight, like in a in a lawsuit, but there might be real big time spans between depositions or being seen in front of the judge. And that's what I feel like Mars and Libra is like there might just be a lot of waiting or a lot of not necessarily feeling that pursuit energy. The good news is that's coming later on in September when Mars goes into Scorpio. The last half of this month is, in my opinion, the best in terms of energy to use for yourself. We'll speak about the world later. But as the moon is in Cancer squaring Mars and Libra, there is this, lack of energy, lack of drive. Mars and Libra might be causing conflicts with other people. And so maybe you want to rest, you want to replenish, but there's some hostile relationships that might inhibit that. So Monday's a little weird, but we get into Tuesday, and really the moon squares Mars really late Monday night, really early Tuesday morning. So depending on where you're at, you might feel it in Tuesday morning more than Monday night. But the moon will square Mars, and then the moon will be making a conjunction with Jupiter for the rest of the day. So here's the good news. As the moon squares Mars, we have that little bit of a moody, really late night, early morning. But as the moon conjoins Jupiter, what else do you want me to say? The vibe is going to be so much better. The vibe is going to be so much more inspirational. But the thing I can't stop thinking about with Jupiter and Cancer is you have to just trust. We are so inundated with a Mercury reality. What do I mean by that? Is that information or empiricism is the only God. That we must trust facts. We must trust, black and white text. And while I'm not saying that doesn't matter, but the whole point of faith is to it's one of those things of I'll see it when I believe it, or I'll believe it when I see it. No, you have to believe it in order to see it. In Jupiter, in the exaltations lecture I did for the Learn Astrology people, which by the way, we're going to be doing the aspects course next. Like I said last week, we're going to be going really deep into the aspects. When you sign up for the Learn Astrology membership, you're getting access to all of my courses. And I think someone asked do you have to be subscribed for a certain amount of months? No, you can literally join and cancel at any point that you want, but you get access to all my courses. So the How to Read Your Birth Chart course, the Zodiac course, the Planets course. Now we're going into the aspects. But anyway, in the exaltations course or lecture, the idea of exaltation is on the come up, on the rise. And so it's not that faith and belief are just super easy, but it's more so of that feeling is on the come up again. That feeling is being restored one step at a time. And so I look at the moon in Cancer conjoining Jupiter as what would your body feel like? Would you feel safe? Would you feel comfortable if you just believed? Truly. Not have it figured out, not have it all make sense, not have it in a step-by-step plan, but if you just had faith, could you let your nervous system relax? Could you feel safer? And if you did, how would you show up in the rest of your world? Would you be less stressed? Would you be less anxious? Would you be more loving and caring? Would you have more energy to put into the thing that you're doing? As the moon conjoins Jupiter on Tuesday, that's the whole point of this, is Jupiter and Cancer is you can have more faith, you can have more belief when we do that Cancer stuff, when we feel good, which again, a lot of the moon really represents safety. This is also why I've gone into men are ruled by the sun and women are ruled by the moon, because believe it or not, women need a lot of safety in so many different areas in order to feel relaxed, in order to feel feminine and receptive. And so while the moon's in Cancer, which is its home sign, and Jupiter's there, I want you to figure out how to feel safe. And what I mean by that is you don't feel safe by by preparing. You feel safe by trusting. You feel safe by receiving, being open to receive. So on Tuesday, get over the anxiousness or the hostility after the moon squares Mars and just focus on trusting, relaxing, letting yourself feel that way and just having faith. We get to Wednesday, and early on Wednesday, the moon will still be in Cancer, but it's going to conjoin Venus in Cancer. Then later on in the day, the moon will ingress into Leo. It's going to trine Saturn. It's going to trine Neptune. And then the moon will, of course, sextile Uranus and go opposite Pluto, all within 2 or 3 hours of one another. So Wednesday's a lot more fun. The moon's in Cancer conjoining Venus in Cancer, where as we start to, Venus is going to leave Cancer here really soon, but the moon conjoining Jupiter is just really asking you to be hey, you need to have a little bit more faith. Not even a little bit more faith. I think I would argue a lot of you guys need to have faith. And I think it's really one of your biggest issues is not trusting and not allowing yourself. Again, there's a difference between I trust, but can you allow that to encompass your body? As the moon conjoins Venus, there's a little bit more fun and pleasure. And it's I just think of Venus in Cancer as very trad wife, making sourdough bread, that kind of stuff. I know that's kind of, cliche. But as the moon conjoins Venus, there's a pleasurable, fun, romantic, sensitive vibe. And what I like about that is then the moon goes into Leo, where have you ever had a very intimate situation and your heart felt filled, your emotions felt filled, and that gave you more passion, that gave you more confidence to place into the rest of your life, that's what the vibe is on Wednesday. Because as the moon goes into Leo, and this is, by the way, this is the secret hack right now. As the moon goes into Leo, we're going into the dark moon, which means we're going to be getting ready for the new moon. And when it comes to the new moon and we're like resetting intentions and shit like that, right? You have two ways to go about it. You can go about it in a nervous, frantic, discontent, a anxiousness, or you can go into it with a lot of confidence. You can go into it with a vision. That's up to you. And so on Wednesday, when the moon goes into Leo, we're going to have that confidence come to us. It's a dark moon in Leo. It's not about being like, I'm visible, I am seen. It's about kind of getting a little bit, like, again, think about the plan that you have for your life, the plan that you have for the next month, week. And I know some people are like, Cameron, I just live in the moment. And it's like, yeah, I know. But there's a difference between living in the moment and letting the wind blow you wherever, which I would also argue you probably wouldn't be here if you actually enjoyed living that way, because we're in the business of looking at the future. So some of you probably have some sort of a theoretical plan for what you're trying to do. And if it came to having wow, that was a really loud email. Let me turn that down. When it comes to making a plan, would you rather go about it in a, oh, well, let me just, survive this or survive that? Or would you rather go about it being like, how am I going to attack? So many of you are on the defense in your life and you're not enough on the offense. Like, you need to get ahead. You don't just need to defend, but actually get ahead. And so that moon going into Leo is going to give you, I think, that courageousness, that passion, that pride. And the moon's going to immediately trine Saturn and Neptune. I'm really looking at when the moon, or really any planet, ingresses into the very early degrees of these fire signs, and they immediately hit Saturn and Neptune. And the whole reason I did the 90-day new identity thing is like, you have an opportunity to carve out the new you. It's not going to be easy. The whole point of Saturn and Aries is it's fucking hard, but life is fucking hard. Which hard would you rather do? Hard that sucks, that gets you not where you want to be, or hard that gets you where you want to be? You don't have a choice. It's going to be difficult. And I think as the moon goes into Leo and it trines Saturn and Neptune, we're getting that contact to feel, go, okay, who do I want to become? What is mine to do? What is the vision I'm trying to create with my reality? And I know that sounds like woo-woo shit, but if you look at the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years in the astrology, really right now is the pivot point. And you're just planting seeds. When you plant seeds, you don't immediately get, an apple tree. Sometimes it takes a few years and a few seasons to really harvest that fruit. But the best time to plant a tree was yesterday. The best time to plant a tree, second best time is today. So as the moon goes into Leo and it trines Saturn and Neptune, feeling that confidence and that energy that is going to help you connect the dots to the systems, the structure, and the discipline that you need in order to get a little bit closer to where you're going. The moon trines Saturn and Neptune, and it sextiles Uranus and goes opposite Pluto. So there's this kind of like pleasurable, fun, insensitive morning that then leads to confidence later on. And there's a burst in confidence, and it's like, I think as the moon sextiles Uranus, it's like, you know what? I'm going to do that. You know what? The moon's going to go opposite Pluto. You like I can't hit on the fear stuff enough. Like, you all know fear is false evidence appearing real and all that shit. But I really think fear is a spit in the face to nature and God and everything that is good. And it's just one of those things where you're allowed, it's like an addict. Like, you're just like and again, this is why I come back to even the safety thing. In order to feel safe, you have to have faith. And when you have that faith, the fear just vanishes. And as the moon goes into Leo, there's this confidence and this pride. And as it goes opposite Pluto, again, moon transits aren't the biggest deal, but any opportunity that you can take to feel the confidence to face fear, fucking take it. Because it's those little wins that stack up that build the confidence later on. So as the moon goes opposite, Pluto, I would really check in with yourself. Like, there's, what I mean? When it comes to magic, right? Like, you can literally be like, I've got a door right here. And I could literally be like, if I do some sort of a ceremony, if I do some sort of really deep meditative intention around when I walk through that door, this is going to change in my life. This one thing, it would happen because you like put the energy on that. And what I'm trying to say is, like, don't be afraid to take a minute to reflect on how you're feeling. And if you're going to push away the fear, if you're going to conquer the fear, if you're going to shine light on the fear, take a moment to like acknowledge that you're doing that. Write that down in your little subconscious journal so you can remind yourself later on when bigger fears, when bigger scary things happen to you in your life, because they will, that you have the confidence to face it. We get to Thursday, the moon's going to be in Leo, it's going to sextile Mars, and it's going to conjoin Mercury. Thursday's an actionable day, meaning like I think when the moon is hitting all these outer planets, it's a little bit more meta, but when the moon is hitting these more inner planets, it's like more shit is just happening, more emails, things that you're trying to work on. It's like more just immediate stuff in your face. But the moon in Leo sextiling Mars in Libra, I think number one, what I wrote down was like being very witty and confident. The moon is going to be conjoining Mercury. And again, I would rather you think in a way that gives you not only confidence, but reassurance. And, confidence doesn't come from like, even like pride or ego. It really just comes from like being really clear about where your heart is and not being like, afraid or trying to minimize yourself. So anyway, on Thursday, the moon's going to sextile Mars in Libra. I think that's like nice for relationship stuff. With Mars causing conflicts in the sign of Libra, like relationships, the moon in Leo might give you the confidence to kind of address that in a very not tongue in cheek way, but in a way that I don't want to say deactivate, but like lessons. I can't think of the word. You guys are really good at thinking of the word for me, but like in police training, there's like deactivate the situation, make the situation less intense. That's what I think that does. And I think the moon conjoining Mercury, I think also gives you a lot of the confidence to say what you need to say. Mercury is still in Leo. Like there is this level of thinking, this level of communicating that is kind of coming from a heart and a soul way. If you allow yourself, if you're not being a little fucking pussy and you're being a little minimizing yourself, little bitch, moon conjoining Mercury, might be time to say it. Might be time to think it. Might be time to allow yourself to think it. So many of you don't allow yourself to think about stuff. And it's like, why? It's just your thoughts. But then we get to Friday. So this is where the week actually gets to the highlights, right? Because we haven't really had highlights up until this point. On Friday, the sun's going to ingress into Virgo. Then the moon is going to ingress into Virgo. And we don't really have the new moon in Virgo till really, really late at night, Friday night. So sun goes into Virgo, back to school season. Why do I say back to school season? Well, for number one, a lot of you are parents, so you're fucking aware. By the way, why are kids starting? Everyone I know, their kids started school last week. It's August. It's like the middle of August. It's still summer. I don't get it. Anyway, sun goes into Virgo. But why I say back to school season is there's like this level of like getting utensils and getting tools and getting paper and feeling more organized and ready to learn. And that energy, I think, is still so available to everyone, right? Like summer vacation starting to slowly go away. We're starting to go back into the work season. We're getting into the fall, the holiday season. There's this level of getting ourselves organized and ready to go. And I want you to embody that. Sure, the sun is no longer in Leo, so it's not about like just feeling it and being it. But I think the strategy here is allowing yourself to get more organized, especially while Virgo is ruled by Mercury and Mercury is still in Leo. So the difference here is rather than just being like focus on heart and soul, being like, okay, now it's time to be a little bit more strategic here. And a little bit more like, okay, the sun being in Virgo is the essence of yourself. Your willpower is really gaining a lot of energy from strategy, from position, from information. And that planet that rules that is in Leo. So it's coming from, like, again, we're still connected to the Leo things, but the moon goes into Virgo really late at night and we get the new moon in Virgo. This new moon is squaring Uranus. There will be a disruption. And that could be good or bad depending on your situation. If you are thinking everything's going to go a certain way, it's not, and that could be good or bad. What does it look like bad? That means you think everything is under control, you think everything is going to go a certain way, and then you get information that changes it. The way it could also go in the good way is gaining information that then makes you go, I need to change this plan. I need to do something different. Uranus might cause instability, and there's times where you might have to call an audible and do something radical in your life. And again, this doesn't have to be change your whole. If you want to change your whole fucking life, why not? Go for it. I don't care. But even just in specific areas of your life, Uranus in Gemini is an explosion of information. And the sun and this new moon is squaring Uranus. So there's some sort of tension of like, I want to have this plan, I have this strategy, but it's squaring Uranus. So some sort of information either disrupts it in a good way, like, oh, I got this new information. Now I can really rethink of something different. Or it's, I'm trying to get my strategy together. I'm trying to have some new intentions, but then information disrupts that plan. Your plans are going to change. But here's the good news. This new moon is in Virgo. We're about to go into eclipse season. And I will be talking a lot about this over the next few weeks. Eclipse seasons. Now, like again, the Lionsgate portal is bullshit. If there's anything that's a fucking portal, it's an eclipse. Like it's a very weird depending on how you measure it, 4-week window. But that is when major endings and major beginnings take place. and you have a choice to choose into those things. Something I talk a lot about with eclipses is that it's going to make you feel like you have to make a decision right there, and you don't. It feels like an emergency decision. And so you have an opportunity to totally end or begin new things, or you don't have to lean into that. Really depends on how you like to live your life. But as that eclipse happens, that's in the future. Sometimes we get lunations, so a full moon or a new moon that is an eclipse, but it's in a different zodiac sign than where the nodes are. This is different. This is a lunation in the zodiac sign that the eclipses are, but this isn't an eclipse. So essentially, this is getting the questions to the test. That is going to be the eclipses in the next 2. So in 2 weeks from this point, when we have the full moon, and then 4 weeks from this point, when we have the solar eclipse in Virgo. So pay the fuck attention. But this is giving you an opportunity to say, you know what? What am I getting prepared for? What am I trying to do here? Who is this new me? We're getting to the end of the 90-day thing. Are you this new person? And you have an opportunity to choose in every fucking day. If you did the 90-day thing, or maybe you didn't and you feel down about yourself, don't be a victim. Don't allow yourself to think that way. What's great about this new moon in Virgo, though, is it gives you a time to strategize. It gives you a time to plan, and it's squaring Uranus. There's going to be a disruptive part about this. Let it disrupt. Like, you don't have control over your life. Let it disrupt some things. But I think the other part of this is, okay, get organized, get detailed. What's the plan? What's the strategy? What's the information at hand? And what are you going to do about it? That's going to give you the context over what the eclipse, the lunar eclipse in Pisces is going to be when Saturn ingresses into Pisces, which is then going to get to another lunation, another solar eclipse in Virgo, where what I would also argue too is this new moon in Virgo is like it's a new moon, right? So it's like resetting intentions, but then we'll get a solar eclipse in Virgo where I don't know if Parker's going to cut that out, but I sneezed. So thank you if you said bless you. But new moons are like resetting intentions, but solar eclipses are like things kind of getting wiped away. So what I would argue is this new moon in Virgo is a rough draft opportunity. I think it's a time to take some information, let it disrupt it, and get whatever your vision is, and you should be playing a bigger game than you guys think that you should be playing. I just made an Instagram reel about this. The reason that you're unmotivated to do the work that you've set out for yourself is because your vision isn't big enough. You guys play small, and because you think the vision that you really want, the dream that you really want is too big and too scary and it's not safe, so you play small and you go, well, these things are controllable. But then you're not motivated to do those things because you don't actually want to do those things. You actually want to do something bigger, but you think that's too scary. So if you just allow yourself to have a bigger vision, if you just allow yourself to actually trust that, you'll be motivated to do the things. You will have all the motivation in the world. But what I think is important for this is kind of getting a game plan ready to go and make it a rough draft, because that is going to change when we get to the solar eclipse here in Virgo in about a month from here. So again, like something I've learned with manifestation is you have to be open to what it looks like. So this would be a really good new moon to be like, all right, here's the list. Here's my back to school. Here's my goals for this school season. And make it really big, but be open to interpretation. Be open to how it's going to look. Be open to how it goes. Because, again, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. That plan will probably change when we get to the solar eclipse in Virgo, which is going to be at the end of the month. But the good news about the end of September is when Mars goes into Scorpio, that's game on. That's when like the end of September, October, November, really December to January into February, that is some good astrology. We get to March and it starts getting really bad. Like March through fucking May of next year is like kind of shit. Maybe not. March is really shit, but it's just a little not. It's not fucking nearly as great as October through February. So October through February is a great lock-in time. But anyway, new moon Virgo on Friday. Really get clear. Write a rough draft and be open to how it's going to be looking in about a month from now. Then we get to Saturday. The moon will immediately square Uranus after that new moon. So there might be, again, another late night disruption. But then the sun squares Uranus exactly on Saturday. So I think this new moon just squares Uranus in general, but I think the sun squaring Uranus is disruption in the change in information. Your willpower is a little bit randomized right now. So again, I think you just have to understand a lot of information is going to come in that's going to kind of disrupt your plans. And this is why I'm saying make a rough draft. Like it doesn't need to be perfect right now, but that rough draft is going to allow you an opportunity to make some edits along the way, which is, I think, the way to really go about this new moon, because new moon in Virgo is like, hey, this is the time to like, again, we're getting off the summer vacation. We're going back to work. We're getting the schedule. We're getting the routines. And you might think it's going to look a certain way. We could use that as an analogy for your life, but it's just going to be disrupted a few times. So just have a general idea and be open to that change. Like Uranus and Gemini is going to thrive off being curious and being open to things. But then we get to Sunday. And now Sunday's a little funky because the moon, while it's in Virgo, is going to be conjoining the South Node. And so we have this new moon in Virgo trying to get the plan together. It's disruptive. But then as the moon conjoins the South Node in Virgo, here's the issue. Rahu, the North Node, what we're hungry for, what we want to consume towards, is in Pisces. You have to just be open. The South Node is draining and exhausting. You have to let go of it. And as the moon conjoins the South Node in Virgo, you can either be really disappointed that the information that you had isn't going to work, or you can be like, write the rough draft, just take what's in your brain and type on the keyboard and use that as a time to edit. That moon conjoining the South Node in Virgo is a great time to edit. It's a great time to correct some things. And what I like about a lot of the Virgo stuff coming up is Virgo is a lot about inventory. I go really into detail on that on the Zodiac course list, or the Zodiac course, and a bunch of lectures in there. But Virgo is about inventory. And like the moon conjoining the South Node in Virgo is like going through your inventory. What is selling? What is moving off of the shelves? Because those shelves are, valuable, right? And you don't want to have product that is on a shelf and not moving because it's costing you money. So take product off the shelf that isn't moving. Whatever's going on in your life, like what needs to be getting rid of. And again, this is something I even go in the Unlock Your Goals a masterclass. Like Mars, you got to do the Mars stuff, right? You got to take the action, but you have to give Mars somewhere to go. And Mars is good at eliminating things. And you guys add on more with your goals versus eliminating everything else but the goal. You need to do more elimination. You need to do more severing rather than adding on this and adding on that. Do more cutting away. And I think that's what a lot of this Virgo energy we're going into is good for. But first we have to take the inventory. First we have to get the details together before we start moving away from stuff. This isn't about an adding on time. This is about recognizing, okay, what do we want to be? Who do we want to become? What are we trying to have? And then get rid of the things that are inhibiting us from getting there. Next week, Mercury's leaving shadow. Venus is going into Leo. She's going to trine Saturn, trine Neptune. She's going to sextile Uranus and go opposite Pluto. We're still in that Leo energy. We're still going to be having a lot more passion and pride. There's so much more to go. And with Mercury out of shadow, I think there's so much more clarity. But again, I think what this week is really good for is getting our inventory together, getting our plans together, being open to it, and then figuring out what needs to be eliminated. And then as Venus goes into Leo next week and Mercury leaves shadow, I think we're even more into that Leo energy of like confidence, brave, passionate. So make sure you guys tune in for that next week. Like, share, subscribe. Please subscribe. It actually would help me out. I'm trying to hit that fucking YouTube plaque. I've been doing this for 10 years and I still don't got a goddamn YouTube plaque. Help me get a goddamn YouTube plaque. It's starting to fucking bother me. So anyway, with that being said, I love and appreciate you guys, and I'll be seeing you next week.